live on your Twitter. Okay, we're live right now. Hello, everyone. This is the workshop scheduled with Mook from Couchbase, and we have Matt, one of the was it business or venture sponsors? I forgot, but one of the
I
awesome
think we're
sponsors.
officially a venture sponsor.
Official, yes, it's official, and it was faster than expected. Thank you for the turnaround, legal marketing. Thank you for your help. This is the preliminary workshop on how to use Couchbase as a vector store. Use all the fast and quick features of the database as service, the NoSQL database you offer. And I believe Bahar has a quick intro about the hackathon. So for those of you tuning in to learn about why are we doing this at 9:30 a.m. on a Wednesday or Tuesday? On a Tuesday, this is what it's about. I'll pass it on to you, Bahar.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we missed the time these days. We haven't been sleeping enough for the hackathon, so that's totally normal. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mook, for setting up the time. So excited to have you here. So excited for this workshop. This is one of the things that I need to learn. So I'm definitely going to be taking notes and writing notes. Thank you for everyone who's going to be here and who will be here soon. And thank you for the time that you were spending. So a little bit intro about what we are doing. We are Beloud. Beloud is a not-for-profit organization. We help startups go from zero, finding their next 10K customers or raising fund. We have a community of builders, creators, and investors. We have an accelerator where we help startups grow. We have a studio. We help startups be built, and we have programs like as the hackathon, educational courses and workshops to help the community be educated and learn and be on top of the technology. We are on a mission to onboard the next generation of creators, builders, and investors to the imagination age. And if you think what imagination age is that at the age of email and texting and Facebook, that was information age, and that's in the past. Right now, we are in the imagination age with the technologies such as AI, AR, VR, Web3, ChatGPT, all of these cool technologies that are giving us abundance of access to resources to realize our ideas. So right now, you cannot have an excuse for saying, I don't know coding, I cannot realize my ideas, I cannot build something. This is literally the time to build something and where your ideas and creativity matters the most. So we thought that these days that it can go from prompt to anything in matters of seconds, why not test it to see if we can do it in 3 days and if we can build a startup in 3 days or not. So that's why we are testing this, and you're inviting more than 300 people to accept this challenge. And this challenge is called Build Out and Build with AI. It's 3 days of going from idea to building something and finding users for it. After the hackathon, we will be supporting you afterwards as well. We don't want you to let it die. We will support all the projects coming out to help you grow, keep working on it, and literally make it to $1 billion startup. We've hosted workshops like this before, both in person and virtual. We have a growing community. So if you're in Vancouver, let us know, join our in-person events. And if you're virtual, we're hosting a lot of virtual events. And the hackathon will be live streamed from the day 1 to the day 3, all the time, from all of our partners' accounts. So you won't be left out. And thank you so much. Share the link with your friends, and so excited to see you on the hackathon. And you can also follow us on our social media. And this is a time to invite our speaker on the stage. And stage is yours, Mark.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing today? This is the first time I've used this platform, so I'm going to need a little bit of feedback from everyone. You can totally do it over chat. The goal today is a couple. One, I want to introduce you to Couchbase and our platform and how it can help you achieve that 54-hour goal from idea to execution. I want to show you our free trial. And most importantly, we have a tech track where we're giving away $1,000 US for the winner of the best team that identifies, creates, and executes by Sunday a solution that uses our solution that conforms to the theme and overall is just cool. I mean, reality is you have an idea, let's make it real. And objectively, I want to see as many of you taking advantage of this. This money is out there, ready to be used. And when I was creating my company, every penny was valuable, and that $1,000 one time helped us add a new feature for our MVP that got us in front of a whole new audience. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys can come up with. I'm going to go ahead and switch over from my face to our share. Just tell me if you guys can see the screen right now. Heads ups or thumbs up would be wonderful. I'm going to pull this away so that you can see my screen. Wonderful. Awesome. Uh, and then I'm going to try to make this as big as possible. If you can see that, Matt, can you see what I'm sharing? I just need an audible yes. Okay, thumbs up because your audio is not coming through. Okay, awesome. Thanks. Matt is my colleague. We both of us will be there for all 3 days. You'll see us. We'll be there answering any and all questions you have. My goal right now for those that are in the session is one, let's set up your free trial so that you can get that going, and then I'll come back to just showing you an overview because it does take a little bit of time. And like all cooking shows, you're going to see me set it up. We're going to put it off screen. We're going to come back with a ready thing after you've done a little bit of knowledge transfer. So right now, my goal today is to get you to build your MVP with Couchbase to help you not focus on, the database spin up, the ability to CRUD into the database, the ability to embed and vectorize the data so you can go and build out a solution. Rather, I want you to focus on your ideas and the business that you're going to execute on without ever having to worry about your NoSQL database. So let's go ahead first to spin you up. The QR code works. I tested it 5 times. So as of 10 minutes ago, it was working. And if you don't have the ability to scan it, the URL I'd like you to go to is cloud.couchbase.com/signup. That's going to take you through the workflow of setting up your database or setting up your account. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to use your full name, your email address, and a password with a little bit of requirements on that. Once you're through that, the system in the background is going to show you a bunch of little advertising screens while it spins up to teach you about our solution, about how you can access it, all the capabilities of it, so that you can ultimately pull in information more effectively and easily. And then you're going to get sent an email to the email address you entered to validate the email works so that you can log in another time. So while that's happening in the background, I want to just tell you about Couchbase, right? Ultimately, majority of the people are using us that didn't know they're using us, right? If you stream movies, if you use a payment service, if you go shopping for things, if you buy chips at a store, or if you use a fruit-based company solution, you're using Couchbase. We're embedded in a lot of the solutions out on the network. We just don't really do a good job of telling you we're there. So that's part of why we're sponsoring this track, is just to raise the awareness, to become aware of, how easy it is to use our solution and how you can talk to it in multiple different ways. Because ultimately, these companies are choosing to use us because of our incredible performance. We're an in-memory NoSQL distributed database so that you can write to our solution. It's immediately cached and it's distributed across our multiple data nodes, so that you can ensure that the data is there and replicated, so you don't have to worry about node loss, which is one of the things of a distributed database. And since we support so many main languages with our SDK, it's available to you in a language you're familiar with. And since we're distributed, we have a sharding map so that you can not have to worry about which node has your data. By connecting through our SDK, we know where it is. It goes directly to the data and pulls it back. Key to this is it's much slower. You don't have to hit a you don't have to hit a main database, then it has to figure out which is its subordinate database to then go pull it back and bring it to you, all taking time. You're running at in-memory speed. Because it's JSON, you don't have to set a schema beforehand. You can evolve it as your needs change. instead of having a traditional defined schema that then involves multiple different stakeholders to go and make changes to it. Additionally, and you might not use it in the hackathon, but in the future, as you grow your solution, because it's a successful one, we have the ability to distribute your data across different node types so that you don't have to have all the same things, and you can optimize for the needs. So you might have a high CPU intensive solution for your analytics. You might have a high RAM configuration for your data or your indexing so that you can go and grab the data quickly. And the reality is everybody wants to grab the data and they want to have it this way. And then the reality is the market says, no, we want to grab it another way. The beauty of our solution is we put the same data that's everywhere across the different form factors. So whether it be a kiosk, a web page, or a mobile device, our solution sits everywhere. And because our data is everywhere, you can actually have a mobile device that is disconnected from the network so that you can ultimately have the data working remotely without a network connection. You pair that with some of the awesome, cool new local language models, and now you can have a fully encapsulated offline solution that doesn't need a network, but still gives you the power of referencing some of the foundational models. And when you want to access that data, you use SQL. I'm talking ANSI compliant, straightforward SQL to pull the data. It's called SQL++, which lets you ultimately write SQL that you're familiar with and query it against JSON. There aren't many that do that aren't structured databases, and we're pretty excited by that capability because many people know SQL, but they don't know JavaScript, so they don't have to learn a new querying language to pull data back. And then in this situation, hackathon, you're using the free trial, but as you grow the system and you expand because your solution's so successful, we are incredibly performant in terms of both actual data access and also cost of operation. So all of these things are good things to keep in mind as you keep growing. So why am I telling you all of this? Because this is the today idea. We have an idea, we have a database, let's go deploy it. As you get more and more people, the reality is you start needing to access it differently. You get bogged down, so you start adding caching solutions. Now you have data replicated in a couple places because, well, I need it over there, so you move the data over there. Then you need to query the data. Well, let's move the data over there. Now you have 3 copies of the same data that may be out of sync. And it keeps growing, multiple copies as you add more and more features, whether it be full text search so your application can be Google-like and search for whatever the user inputs, whether it be I need to have change data protocol or change data capture or stored procedures as the information changes, you have to start pushing data everywhere. So now what have I done? For the first application, you've created multiple data copies. For the second application, because you found it useful, you've now made multiple copies. And all of a sudden, you need to have an enterprise service bus that lets you move the data everywhere. With Couchbase, it's a single install, a single API in the language of your choice, and you have the ability to run analytics on that same data, serving more stakeholders without having to replicate the data. And as I noted earlier, you have mobile. So in a single application, you have the ability to put the data in a single place and have it accessible to everyone. And why is this important? Because ultimately, a simplified data architecture will help you leverage and achieve your AI goals more efficiently without having to figure out where to clean the data, how to ETL the data, how to bring the data into a single location, since you've split it out into multiple different locations. So here's my little goofy image to summarize what I've just been saying. You get to have a single solution with the data all in a single place, so you don't have to spend a lot of time with your data pipelines, ETLing, managing, and making it available to you so your LLMs can be trained and then finally executed and deployed, all with Couchbase. And how we do that is, one, it's a simple JSON document store, but it also does KV. We have a query assistant called IQ, I'm going to show you that later, that helps you build out the SQL you need based off of the actual simple English language you choose to enter into the prompt. This is then very convenient to then go and have it stored in, or rather embedded, so that you have the ability to vectorize your data, so that if you're building a RAG application, you can push that into your foundational model with the retrieval augmented vectors so that you get a more rich response. I touched on it earlier. We have time series data, so even if you're pulling in metrics off of an IoT device or off of a similar type information, we're pulling and capturing that information, and as part of our SQL, you can unnest and query that data as if it were a full stream of schema unto itself. And we do this through multiple layers of technology, ultimately giving you the ability to do what's necessary. And the way we execute on that is depending on which language you choose, you're able to take your JSON data and store it into our KV. We have a database change protocol that ultimately synchronizes and distributes that data to all the different services. So you have a singular endpoint to Couchbase while we do all of the distribution of the data, so that you reduce that ultimate complexity. I've done a ton of talking at this moment. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them now. Do you see anything in there, Purya?
So
Or Bahar?
I think,
Sorry.
no problem. So I think there's a question different than a Firestore. That's one of the questions I see. And the other one is how you built your RAG app before.
Cool. So I'm going to take the first one. Yeah, I'm going to take the first one, then I'm going to take the second one. So could you, Bahar, could you repeat the Firestore question?
How is it different? How is this different than Firestore?
So ultimately, Firestore is a single solution, right? You then have to add more things. So with each new technology that you cover, you ultimately are having to manage the integration, and it just becomes a hodgepodge of different solutions to achieve a larger platform. With Couchbase, we're a singular platform that offers all of the different capabilities you need through your development lifecycle.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And the other question is, have you built a RAG app before? But I don't know if you want to answer that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so perfect timing, because that's where I was going to head next. So, RAG applications, it's the word of the day, right? Oh yeah, we're gonna AI our application. Well, depending on what level of business executive talk to, the less they understand what we're saying. The people that are on this call are building stuff. They know exactly how it works, but I don't know the full depth of everyone. So I'm going to just go over a high level of what is a RAG application, and then talk to how Couchbase can help you. Right? The traditional way of leveraging foundational LLMs such as OpenAI, Llama Index, Bedrock, and a couple others like Mistral, it was getting a lot of attention as well, is you ask it a question, and depending on how recent the training data is, you get a generic answer back. When you use solutions that have the vector store capability like Couchbase, you have a corpus of private information that goes through the embedding model that gets vectorized, chunked and vectorized, and then stored. And in this case, you would store it to the Couchbase data service, and then store it to our search service as a vector array, so that it's available for the use during runtime, right? There's training, and then there's the execution. Now, when that same question is asked, what is the best way to reduce muffler noise on my 67 Ford Bronco? It goes and, using the same embedding model, embeds the data, gets a vector string. That vector string, in addition to the question that's asked, is pushed against your vector search index, and then it's pushed back with the relevant chunks for it based on the concept of K nearest neighbors, KNN. Sometimes companies will say, hey, here's the 5, where K equals 5 that I want to know, or here's the 10, depending on whatever their tuning choices are. And then it gets back the response. So now you have the same question, but that augmented with the vectors that you're looking for. So now when you send that information back to the same language model, you have the query and then the augmentation for retrieval of the information, retrieval augmented generation. So now it's saying, hey, here's the generic question I have, but I want this type of information to define your answer. So question relevant to the nearest neighbors you've chosen, and now you get a more rich response that's relevant to the users at question. Now take this in the construct of an auto parts store, right? They may have like 60 terabytes of data that they don't ever want going into a large language model because that's their IP. That's what keeps them ahead of the game. By doing this, you keep private data private, but you get the benefit of foundational model. Everybody wins. And you don't have a customer going back and forth to get more relevant information as the queries get more and more refined. Did that answer the question that was asked, Bahar?
I think so. That was perfect. I am someone who doesn't have a lot. I'm not too technical, but it was you explained it in a very great way. I could understand everything. There is 2 more questions. You want to answer them right now or later?
Let me hear them, and then I'll make my choice.
Sure. Have there been a case of Couchbase integrated in a no-code build platform through API integrations?
Awesome question. So a qualified yes. And what I mean by a qualified yes is we're working right now, as in for the last week and overnight, with Flowise. So the goal is when the hackathon starts on Friday, it'll be integrated into Flowise.
Yeah, that sounds great. I know we're still trying to figure out that Docker compilation issue with it, but it's going to be fixed. And that's the beauty of it, right? Because you can easily use this in no-code solutions like the Flowise, et cetera, and it'll be easier to build these Gen AI apps and use these RAG features because you don't have to worry about, like, if you're not 100% technical like Bahar, you could make a Gen AI app for a car dealer shop, for an ice cream shop, for healthcare, any chatbot AI agent you want to make. It'll be super simple to do it in a few clicks because you have the vector store available and all the nice features Couchbase offers.
Exactly. And then Bahar, you had that you said there was a second question?
Yeah, the second question is how different is the concept of RAGs from an LLM with a large context index?
So I'm actually going to show you this in motion. Actually, let me, I'm going to do it once everybody's instance is up so that you can follow along with me. But it's just a function of how recent is that? And then the cost to create that foundational model is expensive. So some companies, especially smaller ones, just don't have the funds to go and fine tune or to just keep sending questions to a foundational model, because ultimately every question is costly. But if you have a large corpus of data that you've trained that you want to be able to ask more efficiently to reduce not only your OpenAI or your API calls to Gemini or to Bedrock, you have the ability to do that now, right? I don't know everybody's use case, so I'm not going to comment in a general sense because, well, that's rather arrogant to say, oh yeah, everybody. The reality is everybody's got an idea. They have the linear path or the continuum of, we have a lot of great ideas and not a lot of funds, or we have a ton of funds and we're looking for ideas. And somewhere on there is where you're going to fit. It's not a one size fits all, but we now give you the tools in a single data store, which more or less a data platform with a single API, reducing the complexity of your integrations. And what I mean by that is, as you go through and develop your solution, you have your identified business problem, you have your collected data, where, and then you prepare the data, you test, train, build the models, you test it for accuracy, and then you deploy it. Without it traditionally used to be a hodgepodge of solutions, right? You'd grab the data from here, you'd go and ETL the data to another solution. You'd still run the tools to figure out how you want to group the data. And then you bring it back for more training. And then finally, you have a trained model that you're now going to execute on. Now, I'm not saying we do everything for everyone, but on the smaller scale, it's a single solution that lets you go and do that without having to worry about the integrations and the versions, because you just connect to us. You put the data in there, you do your training, you do your work, and you continue. And then ultimately you deploy it, and then you iterate on it. Did that address the question?
I believe so. Yeah, makes sense. And the thing is with AI, and you probably know more about this, it's a black box, right? The people making it don't truly understand what's happening inside of it. And the debate between do you need to train larger, more advanced LLMs versus using more RAG, it's still going on, right? Because at some point you could have like an LLM that has a gazillion token limits context window. They don't need to virtually use RAG. Or, as you said, to access real-time data, because you have that large corpus of data, structured or unstructured, you need to like filter through it and then use that to build a model and then run those AI user message responses on top of it. So it's still an ongoing debate. Is that right? LLMs versus RAGs?
Yeah, right now I've heard the line, well, RAGs are not real. They're just a Band-Aid for where we're going. It's like, yeah, but sometimes the Band-Aid becomes the fix. I don't see it being solved in the next week or two, but maybe your idea and your solution is how it gets fixed. I just don't know. We're providing what the market needs, and we're doing it in a way that gives us the flexibility to grow with you, so that as things evolve, as the market changes, you still have a platform that's flexible enough to allow you to do those investigations and those pivots.
Totally, that makes sense. There's another question from Gavin. So essentially the workflow that it works with Couchbase. Capella, you add the documents to Couchbase, you generate vector embeddings for the documents, you generate vector embeddings from the user input, you get similar documents from Couchbase, assuming referring to the K similarity score, and feed the docs and user input to OpenAI API. Is that the workflow, or did they miss a part of it?
No, that's pretty much the workflow. I'm going to roughly show the flow. I covered it here as well, right? Which is, you have your data. There's 3 colors here. I apologize if they're not coming through. It's our marketing team. It's always easy to blame marketing, right? You have the user input here in gray, right? You have the JSON documents that are actually the knowledge corpus of the data that is not publicly known. I'm actually gonna show in a demo shortly that as well, and the code is available so you can try it locally.
Perfect.
And you go through the flow. So Gavin, to your question, yes, that's how it would work.
Okay, super simple and straightforward answer. It makes sense. Ankara has another question.
Sure.
Should we, well answered, Mook, should we be worried / relaxed that LLMs will get too big and advanced to cover the gaps filled by RAG? Yeah, assuming they mean that LLMs will grow, develop larger context window, and they would eventually render RAG to be useless. Do you see that happening?
So of course, let's start with, they're spending far more money than the collective groups, right? They've got billions of dollars to figure out how to solve this, to make it that ultimate Star Trek experience of computer and then a complex result. The horizon when that comes back is not, I don't see that occurring in the next 6 months. Will it happen? I mean, you asked, hey, how are LLMs going to be that efficient? You asked that 2 years ago, and it's like, I don't see it happening. And then OpenAI 3 was released, and all of a sudden the whole world pivoted and started going that way. And then RAG applications and Streamlit and all these actually LangChain and Llama Index didn't exist, but now they do. So yes, I absolutely think that that will happen. I just don't think it's going to happen in the early part of 2024. So the solutions need to be built, but have an eye on things are going to change. So make sure your framework is not so hard coded that you're unable to change unless you fully re-architect, which comes back to ultimately we're the bottom of the food chain. We're the foundation you build off because it gives you everything all in one solution, right? So you don't have to have the integrations between multiple different systems. So you can stream data into it. You can push data between the different services without physically moving the data and without replicating the data, without having to have multiple different ways to integrate or talk to the different systems, right? Overall, that ability to talk to the data, access the data in different models with a single API in the language of your choice is how you reduce the complexity as you grow and move forward and pivot as the market itself change. So am I an oracle? Can I see the future? Oh, heck no, because I would have bought Apple way back in 2009. But for the foreseeable future where you just figure out, okay, in the next 2 weeks, is it going to happen? I don't think so. Is this an avenue to help you visualize and present a solution by Friday or by Sunday evening? Most certainly. Will you do it easily with the lowest barrier to entry? I certainly think so. And I say that because I didn't know much about this product when I first joined this company. I did a presentation as part of my interview process of it, and I'm not an incredibly smart person, and I could understand it. I went from, okay, I get it. I had a small concept of simple CRUD SQL, and it was adequate for me to build a solution that I was able to present, which are kind of the rough outlines of this hackathon. Come up with your idea, right? Grab the data, all of the stuff that you need, but you put it all into Couchbase so you have that data available to you for allowing you the ability to create the solution you're trying to present. Now, the question to that is, okay, that's fine, but how do I get the data in and out? And I'm about to show you that in the solution. So this is a great moment for us to actually step to the next thing, which is let's bring up your instance of Capella. By now, it should be up and running. So if everybody could follow along with me, that would be awesome. I'm going to give everybody about it's 10:04. So I'll give you a couple minutes to bring up your system. It should be up, running, and deployed. If you haven't done that, overall, sit back and watch. Hopefully, I'm showing things to you that you didn't know before.
So going back, Mook, you mentioned the data connectors. What sorts of data could people connect to Couchbase to use in their vector embeddings?
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding that question. You're asking on this slide, right? Which is, I believe this one? No. This one, right? Where can the data come in and out? Is that?
That is correct. Essentially, like what sort of data types and from what sources could Couchbase handle?
So ultimately, right, your applications are creating JSON if it's a NoSQL database. If it's a structured database, we have connectors that allow you to pull in that data into Couchbase. So we are a document database, but you can also store binary information. And then you're able to do whatever embedding you want. So use the I've done a lot of my work for using our vector store in Python. So there's a ton of libraries out there that will let you do the PDF to text, that will let you do image to text, that will let you do those more complex non-initial text data, so that you can then bring the text into an environment that allows you to embed the data using the standard embedding models that are text-based. And
Perfect.
you can
And
stream it in through Kafka or Spark.
gotcha. And could you use local embedding models? And I'm trying to buy time so people could get set up.
Yeah.
Could
Oh,
we
no,
use
no, I fully understand that, Corinne.
yeah. Could we use local embedding models or different embedding models to generate those embeddings, or are they built in Couchbase?
So perfect time to ask that question. So let me pop into the actual code that we're about to play with shortly. So it's a simple, a simple Python script that goes and grabs. I'm using LangChain here and OpenAI's Ada. If it's supported by LangChain or it's supported by Llama Index, and you're hitting a local LLM, and you have a local embedding model that is supported by them, you can go ahead and do those necessary embeddings to pull back the vectors to store, right? Because the cool stuff is happening outside the database. I like to use the non-technical description of Couchbase is a bottle of wine, bottle of liquid that you really, really like. And the real exciting stuff is what's in the bottle. However, our bottle is flexible enough to store whatever kind of beverage you want, so that you don't have to keep going and creating multiple bottles to move the data from how you've created it to the people that want to consume it. Boring, but important, because storing a single bottle is infinitely easier than having to buy a bottle carrier for 6 different bottles. It's a boring example, but everybody can visualize what a bottle is. And everybody doesn't buy it because the bottle looks cool. You buy it because of the liquid that's inside it. We just make it easier for you. And then what I mean by the question, hey, how do we grab the different data? If it is local, here I've used OpenAI, and I've used the text splitter that is part of LangChain. And then I'm using the Couchbase vector store that is part of LangChain's vector stores library. You do the necessary chunking, so save to vector store, which is chunking the PDF file and storing it in the vector store. This is explicit to the demo I'm going to show shortly that everybody can run. It's a single file, a single script that you bring in, you execute, and it does all the work for you. It takes about a minute to download and install, depending on the speed of your internet connection, and then it brings up a nice web page so that you can work with it in the most simple of ways. So it takes a couple of things. So I'm hoping that in the interim 5 minutes, you've been able to get into your Couchbase system. So let me step there and bring you to the instance. So you're immediately brought into the home page, right? Which is, to be honest, I actually forgot how it looks because I've been working in this for a couple of years, right? And so it brings you into your data tools screen, right? And in data tools, this is where all of your buckets, scopes, and collections are. Think of it as your databases, your tables, your schemas, and your rows. So you have the information for the RD demo that I'm gonna work with today. You have the vector store you have the vector store database that has a LangChain scope with a WebRag collection. All of that stuff we're going to walk through and show you how to set it up. And then you have a free full text search of a WebRag index that is the vectorized document store where all the information gets trained and then referenced with your RAG demo. So this is where I want people to raise your hands, to have me go slower, have me go faster, whatever is necessary so that you're walking along with me. In terms of time check, hey, Poria, do we have 20 minutes or do we have 50 minutes?
We can go over time because I feel like it makes sense for people to like get an understanding of the baby steps and like how to use Couchbase Capella. So yeah, we could go for the full on 50 minutes if people have questions. If it finished sooner, we could end it. I'll leave that up to you, but I'll give you a small nudge. I'm here backstage.
Okay, perfect. Because I want to make sure that I get all of the questions answered because I ultimately want everybody that's listening to me to be using us for their solution because, well, our stuff's cool and it's easy. But I'm also realistic that sometimes it just doesn't work. So you have a couple things. I'm going to first show you the basics with the vector demo, but then I'm going to come back and use our IQ tools to show you how you can even create synthetic data in an instance to help you with your testing or your training or whatever application you ultimately want to that you ultimately develop and execute on.
Oh, sorry. So you can create synthetic data directly from Capella.
Correct.
That's amazing. Yeah, that opens up a lot more things. I was just browsing Twitter as one does every day for a few hours, and there was this discussion about eventually the LLMs based on the LLM versus RAG discussion we were having as they're being trained on synthetic data. At some point, they'll hit that knowledge ceiling. That if every knowledge is synthetically trained, how can new things be created? So we'll get into that because I'd love to see how we could do that in Capella.
Yeah, it's funny that you do that. It's like, okay, if you're training data with synthetic data, are you really creating more recent information or are you reinforcing what was learned?
True. We should make that into a quote. I should have saved that, but we'll make that into a quote for sure. I like that one.
Awesome. So what I'm showing here is just the structure that you're going through. The data that we're going to cover is right here, straightforward stuff I put together. My README MD is really just weak. I put it together last night because it might be difficult for people to follow along live. So I'm going to post it here. Actually, I'm going to post it into the. I'm going to post it. Actually, I posted it to you, Poria. Could you post it to the group?
For sure. Did you send it on LinkedIn?
I sent it in our private chat because I can't post the comments. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll do that right now.
And Gavin, I buy liquor because the bottle looks cool too. But you know, the reality is that we buy a bottle of liquor by category because I'm not going to go buy and like some Rocky because the bottle looks cool because I don't like that licorice flavor. So I get where you're coming from, man. So go ahead and pull down this. There we go. Pull down this repository, right? It's my address, beloudhackathon.git. It's the same information that we just posted into the chat. And once you have to chmod it so it's executable, and then you just run it. And what's going to happen is it's going to bring up this page here, and it's going to be a local instance of it. And I'm going to walk through how to get this information as we go. If I can just have someone post into the comments once they have their local instance presented, I'll give it a beat after that, and then I'll continue.
For sure. So just to understand, this is a tutorial on how to make a chat with PDF app using Capella.
Correct. So like a simple RAG application. Oh, the full link's not showing. Okay. A simple walkthrough so that you can see how our application can help you with your ideas.
For sure. I'll post it on LinkedIn and Twitter as well under the events page, so people could also access it from there.
Perfect. Yeah, let's see. And then additionally, when you are in your trial, you have the ability to go ahead and rename the database, because I think its first step is it creates a name for you called trial cluster. What you're going to do is rename it to whatever you choose to be. You could leave it as it is, or you can make it your own name, because you just need to create a bucket called vector demos. And the only reason is the code I've used uses those names. It's not a requirement for everything you do. It's just how I did it last night. And then what you're going to do ultimately is I've included some basic information on how to work with data. Basically, Lab 0, Part 1 and 2 spets up the information, and then we have simple CRUD so that you can get more understanding. It's available to you to go download and work on in your own time, so that when you have more information available to you as you ideate on what can we do, and then you can execute it this weekend. And I will be physically located in Vancouver this whole weekend, so that you can ask any questions and I can help you answer those questions. I'm trying to coordinate someone to be physically present in Future House. Is that? Yeah,
Yes,
in
you
London.
got it. In Clapton. Yeah, we're not going to share the address publicly, but it's in London.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and the objective is so that you have people locally. I'm just having a little bit of a harder time trying to coordinate across the time zones. So
yeah, I bet.
bear
And
with
it's
me. on
already
that. Yeah.
been a bit of a stretch. Yeah, this is the term I told you, effectively accelerate. So that's essentially it. You're going to push fast, publish faster, accelerate tech adoption, these initiatives until the old systems break and new things come out of it. So yeah, I feel like the legal, marketing, etc., and bigger corporates just should pay attention that you can act like a startup and take faster initiatives. So thank you so much for taking the time and effectively accelerating the process to join.
It was exhilarating. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we feel that too. I feel like people could be set up if someone's going through the GitHub repo. Please put a comment on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitter, and we'll know to proceed. I feel like we could go, Mook, if people have questions.
Perfect.
We could and we could like ask your question up on the stage.
Okay, awesome. So the first one, it's going to ask you, hey, connect to it and create a username password. The assumption here is everyone has an open AI API key. If you don't, follow along with us, and then you can generate one offline to do it yourself. If you have any questions after the fact, connect and LinkedIn message me and I'll answer them as they come in. I may not answer them in the middle of the night because I also sleep, but I will get to them. And so when you're in the Couchbase interface and you're in your data tools tab, you're going to see something called Connect. What that's going to be is the SDK. Now I'm going to walk through the screen and I'm going to give you the information you need. What's great about this is we are a zero trust system. So you have to identify the IP insider range that you're going to use. Straightforward wise, it's going to show you, hey, how are you going to connect? Oh, I hope I didn't kick myself out. Cool. When you add your allowed IP, you can just say, hey, quad 0, anybody can touch it, or you can lock it down to just your instance. What I did is I have it locked down to just my instance. And though I can't actually remember which one this is. And they allow you to connect to the system. And what's key there is it lets you connect to the control plane, not the data plane, the control plane. Now, the second thing you need to do is allow access to the specific databases, which is you have to create a user. I've created user Mook because, well, that's my name. You can go ahead and create whatever access username you want, and you do that by creating database access. You create a name. apologies, Gavin, I'm going to pick on you because you've asked questions. And then you just give it a password. It has to conform to the 8-character lower, upper, special, and a number. And then you add the bucket level. So a bucket is what bucket are you going to connect it to? You can lock it down to a specific bucket, a specific scope, and a type of access. So you might have systems that just are allowed to read. You might have systems that are only allowed to write, or you can have them have dual access of read-write. You choose what it is. You have that level of granular access to it. And then if you are going to work with the SDK, we support a bunch. We include all of the different versions that you are, the different code samples. And the reason I'm bringing this up is as you identify the language you want, our code snippets change, or you can do a full import, a full code selection. So code sample. So you don't actually have to write that initial code for you. Again, connecting to a specific instance, and it goes and changes and pre-selects all that data so that you can go ahead and access it. Now, what's important here is it's going and hitting our included sample database. Of course, that's going to be different when it relates to your specific instance, but it gives you the try-catch information and it gives you the exception handling. So we get you started with a framework to get you going as you explore the CRUD capabilities of our solution.
Sorry, quick question, Mook. What languages does it support? Curl, I'm assuming Python or?
So currently Java, Node, Python, Go, .NET, Kotlin, Scala, Ruby, and PHP.
Perfect.
Yeah. So it's pretty wide in what we support. You're going to see all my examples in Python because that's what I prefer, but it's not the only one we support. Now, once you have all of that done, that's great for tomorrow's work or later today's. But for today, we're only going to work with the connection string that we're going to grab here. Just go ahead and copy it. You can hit copy to grab all of it. You'll just have to do some deleting on the other side. And you just need the host name, not the method of communication. And paste that information here. As you can see, it sits there. Now, my scope and collection are gray and unclickable. Lil Wolf, I'll come back to you at the end of this and help you with it. When you say it's gray, are you talking here it's gray in the database access? Select all access, all types, and that should overcome that issue. Because we only really need the pieces of information related to the public connection string and the choose database access in item 2. So in terms of the information, you're going to paste the Couchbase server host name that you've found here in the SDK tab under Connect. The username and password is what you defined in step 2 here under choose database access. And then you're going to choose the vector demos, LangChain, WebRag, and for the bucket scope and collection that is defined under data tools and the create. So the create is going to create your bucket. So this is where you choose a new bucket. You choose the existing bucket of vector demos because you've renamed it. And then you're going to choose LangChain and LangChain and then the associated bucket of WebRag.
Question, Mook, how is a bucket and collection different?
So a bucket is the entirety of the database that gets stored. That's where all the information it will go into. And then a scope is going to be a logical separation of that data so that you can lock down individual access by scope so that you can have a team that only is going to work with this set of data, but it is all managed within the bucket. It's a logical segregation of data based on your business use cases.
Gotcha. And collection, it's just a name of multiple databases, or? Okay.
Yeah, it's similar to a collection is and I have a slide on it. For
sure.
Expediency, I skipped over it, but I can show it to you later on in follow-ups if that helps. A collection is like a type, a schema. You have this type of information sitting there. versus that type of that collection of data. What it does is it helps you logically lock down the type of information you're going to post to it, so that you might have multiple data models inside a specific scope. Or it could be our default is default, so you can just have it distributed overall. It gives you the ability to A, lock down access, B, logically arrange data based on what your needs are, and then C, it lets you ultimately give people a representation of what type of data exists in that space.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love the scope feature, because I remember our conversation about the benefits of RAG and these chatbots, AI agents, essentially, is that you could have private data that you don't need to give access to people, but they could run queries on top of it, which is super awesome with Capella, the scope feature. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and then before I continue, Lil Wolf, you actually don't have to have that for the code snippet to work to follow along. You just need to make sure you create a user. Okay, so once you've created that, you have your connect string, you have your username, your password, you've identified your IP address also in the connect, right? So you've allowed your IP address, you've created your database credentials. That's where this information is going to come from. And then you enter your open API key. If you do not have one, there aren't dummy API keys anymore. There used to be the ability to not spend money. Unfortunately, that changed. And then you have the bucket, scope, and collection. And then you have your search index name. Your search index, so this is the full text search, is going to be found under search. And you're going to create a search index. And you're going to create a search index. I create foo. I'm going to apply it to this demo. I'm going to apply it to the collection. And not going to do that, or else it's going to be a duplicate. But those are the steps you would grab, and it would be WebRag index as the name. And then you go ahead and create that index. And that's all you have to do. You now have a full text search that is going against the full data set of your WebRag collection, so that it can continuously, because remember the DCP, continuously be updated on the data that comes in, so that it's available to your vector search. And then the project name, I believe by default, the projects are called My First Project. Somebody keep me honest on that. I believe mine is currently called my name, Mukund Srinivasan, so that's what I have here. And then your database. I called my database Golf Vector, because that's how I remember that's the vector database. And then your Capella API key. Your Capella API key is created from within the project. So you're going to go to projects. Now within projects, you're going to have your project name. Inside your project name, inside your project name, you're going to have the settings. Wrong project. Inside your project name, you're going to have the settings. In the settings is going to be API keys. From API keys, you're going to generate a key. It's going to give you two things: your public key and your private. The private is what you copy and you store locally, so that you don't have, because you're never going to see it again. And then you have your access key. Copy that and put it locally so you can access it quickly. And then you're going to post that information here. Once you're done with that, let's see, I'm going to start my demo, which I've already started. I ran some questions to make sure it worked. And everybody should be able to hit the configure so it builds everything, and then to start the demo. If everybody goes ahead and tries that, you don't have to call this Mukund Srinivasan. You can call it My First Project. That's no problem. I've had this system up for multiple years, so I think I blew it out because everybody on my team named theirs the same thing, and it was hard to figure out whose was whose. So I just stuck my name on there. And then once you spin that up, go ahead and get it to run. And I'm going to give you a couple minutes while that happens. So while that's happening in the background, let me just give you, two things. There is a URL for the form. So we have this form to participate. I'm going to grab the URL for it, copy it, and Pooria, could you post this to the
Yes.
group for me, please?
For
This
sure.
is the shortened URL. So for you to be eligible, for the prize, you have to fill out the form so we know about you. And by doing so, two things are happening. You understand that you're not a Couchbase employee, you're over 18, and you meet the eligibility requirements as defined. This is why, you have legal. They actually wrote this for me. It doesn't, as you can see, I'm more of a, okay, there's a few provisos, quid pro quos. I'm a Disney movie fan. That was a line that the genie used back in the original one. And, I just need to have you guys do that. It also puts you on our marketing list so that we can contact you afterwards. Winners will do multiple things. You're going to win the money, but we're going to amplify your voice across our entire corporate social team. So that means we're going to send it out to LinkedIn. We're going to send it out to Twitter. We're going to make sure people are aware of you. So that amplification and awareness is grown. You get more than just money. You get money and exposure. So I really hope people choose to use us and work with us and, build out stuff. So
Absolutely.
that should have given you a chance to have this up and running.
Yeah,
And
we're
so-
going to. Sorry, we're going to share the form link directly with the participants in Vancouver, London/virtual. And
Okay.
To be eligible for the prize track, you have to build using Couchbase Capella as your DB, the sole provider. And that form isn't too scary, as Mook made it sound and stuff. But essentially, what that form does is that they want to check your eligibility for offering the prize, and B, they want to just share your project with their audience on social and blog possibly. So it will amplify, as Mook said, your project, and then could grow. So one idea to an MVP to a user, and more social impressions and reach, so that your potential users, investors will get notified about it.
Exactly. Thanks. And to get to the API field, right? You go through the link for My First Projects, and it'll be projects, My First Projects, and then select settings, and you should see API keys there. Did that help you, Gavin? Oh, it's not there. Okay. Let me, because, it's a demo. Of course, it can't be flawless. I'm not normally, I'm not jaded. It's just the reality of technology. It usually works and then it doesn't. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk through this so you can see it working. And what I've done at this point is I grabbed a file. In this case, I used our travel and expense guidelines because I know that is not publicly available, because you want to use something that's not publicly available or very recent. One of my colleagues actually used OpenAI to create a 500-word story using completely bogus information, and then use that PDF as the source for this demo. So it's completely new information that the foundational model won't know about. And then when you upload and vectorize the data, it goes into the database and it is vectorized and stored inside Vector Demos. Perfect. And I'm going to grab 10 documents. And in there, it's chunked. So we have the metadata that includes the text chunk itself And then you have the 1024 vector. I think this is a 1024. Yeah, it's a. Oh no, it's the 1536. I think is the number. I apologize. The numbers on the top of my head aren't exact. And then the associated information where it's coming from. And now you can start asking questions. So I asked the first question, which is, hey, can you show me the table of contents? And if you notice, I purposely misspelled table of contents. It understood what I was doing and grabbed the information and showed it to me. And it does two things. One, here is the RAG interpretation of the information with the Couchbase logo. And then the OpenAI logo is just posting it to OpenAI. And this is where you can see the difference between foundational last time it was trained versus the current information with the KNN information, with the KNN vector elements. And it gives you the exact information that's in the document versus what table of contents generally store. Let me grab some flight information. Flight policy on flights to Vancouver, BC.
And quick question, Mook. This front end chat interface. This is made using Capella, or is this something you made to show this?
So this is actually Streamlit. And so this goes back to the slide I showed that was purple. Right, all of the data and all of the actual incredibly cool stuff you guys are going to create is what is front-ending this, as opposed to a command line of just pushing data into a data store, because we're a full platform where you can go and manipulate the data, access the data, modify the data. We're simplifying how you have to interact with your data and give you the ability to go and actually create really cool stuff. So ultimately what you're doing is eliminating the complexity of creating, updating, and deleting data, right? Because it's create, read, update, delete. All of that is in a single platform with a single API in the language of your choosing, so that you can focus on the cool stuff. And in this case, I'm using Streamlit, and it's going and creating this. This is one of the standard vector database solutions that are out there. You can see when you have it up and running, it actually shows you what we're using. So LangChain, our Couchbase Vector Search, and OpenAI. And when you select the view code, you can actually go straight to the information that built this entire interface, which is a couple of things.
Yes,
Did that answer your question?
Let's see the policies on travel to Vancouver.
Yes, and so I asked, hey, what did I ask? I said, hey, what's the flight policy on my flights to BC? This is specific to my company's rules. And then, as you can see, OpenAI is kind of just the generic information. And then, what is my meal allowance when in Vancouver, BC? So I believe I'm allowed $100. Yeah, okay, good. I'm allowed $100 a day, so I can go and eat. Post-COVID, prices have gone up, so I generally hit that number. As you can see with OpenAI, since it has no reference to the private information that was just embedded in the Couchbase Vector Store, it gives me generic information. This is kind of the power of Couchbase. I just kind of put in a couple of lines of code. I'm now writing to Couchbase. I'm leveraging its capabilities, and you can now focus on the actual program that you're writing. Gavin writes general. Okay, you're going to follow up. Perfect. And so the code that was sitting behind it is, and I touched on this earlier, but it's the capability of using basic information that's coming out of LangChain. So it's using its recursive character splitter with an associated chunk size with overlap, so you know how much information is going into it. Then it's just using its text splitter capabilities. Someone had asked, hey, what can I do with it? If you want to use something else, like let's say an image, you go an image to text, and then you push text through the save to vector. So you can do those associated chunkings. And then the information to connect to Couchbase is here under the vector store capability module. So you just define those pieces of information. Now, this is your first exposure to it, so a lot of this is going to be complex. I'm not kidding when I say ask me questions. I'm happy to answer. I'm even happy to jump onto a really quick session to show you walking through it. Because ultimately, I would love to have everybody using our stuff. I'm also realistic. If you've already started building your ideas and working with stuff, you know, I have no control over that. You just don't have access to the $1,000. That's all.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, that totally makes sense. The money's nice, but the features are quite nice. It's tickling me to go and play with it right now. Yeah, if I feel like this is a good hands-on for folks using Python to learn how to use it. And as you said, it works with other languages, and you can also add in as many databases, different collections, and the scopes. So it's pretty versatile. So just in case, like say, for example, you don't want everyone to have access to your private proprietary data, like even for the hackathon or afterwards. So you could also limit them so you don't have those data breaches, and legal somewhere wouldn't be afraid.
Exactly. So Tidbit Tunes asked a question about, can you add more information? Yes, because all you're doing is defining the document that gets written. So whatever information you want to add, you can add it.
A question to you, Mook. So you mentioned
Yes.
when you joined, initially you were also new to this, but it was easy to pick up. Based on your experience with Capella, what are some things that it can do really well that other vector stores, databases, I don't want to say fail, but don't do it as well as Capella? Essentially answering, why is Capella best at what it does?
So the speed with which you can get up and go, right? As I noted earlier, I think I installed, well, this was before we had a cloud solution. It's now even easier, is I installed, oh, and I didn't even show you the coolest part. Here, let me show you why it's easy. Let me pop into the actual data tools. Let me pull in some generic information from we're going to call this a new one. Now, apologies, I'm working with a full version, not the free trial version. So I'm doing things that you're going to get errors on because our free trial gives you just one instance. So we're going to create a bucket. We're going to use the generic information. And, oh, right. Oh, I'm using a single node cluster. That's right. I forgot about that. I do have the minimized version. So let me do this. Let me add a collection. Bar. Create collection. Okay, LangChain bar. I'm going to go and pop into bar. I'm going to go query some information. I'm going to work with LangChain and pop into IQ. And I'm going to grab bar and can you create 10 documents that use the fields first name, last name, DOB, city, and province. So I'm just asking it, hey, could you go and create this stuff, create some synthetic data? What's happening is IQ, which is our co-pilot, is going and creating synthetic data for us. And additionally, and this is the cool part, is it's putting it into SQL so that I don't have to worry about how do I exactly do that. And then I don't have to then copy paste information. I just hit run. It goes and creates the information, pushes it into bar, and does the necessary values. So I also want to go and query it. So create a primary key for bar. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Now I want to say, let's see, where are some of these places? How many docs, how many people, people are from Texas. The only reason I know that is one of the fields came back and it says Texas somewhere in there. It says, hey, it's going to count this. Now, what's important here is I want to, oh, whoops. I asked a poorly formed comment. Okay. How many people are from, what do they call it? Province, are from the province of Texas? Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm creating an error. Demos sometimes fail. And so as I, objectively, oh no, it actually worked. There we go. People from Texas, 3. So what it did is I created synthetic data. I hit a button. I created an index. I hit a button. I asked a question. It created the SQL for me to get the answer, and I hit a button. And what did I know? I knew how to type English. And that is the coolest thing that we do. You just went and created information, you queried it, but you didn't know any SQL because we wrote it for you.
It's pure magic, and I love how it generated the SQL. I want to say commands, because that is not easy to do as well, and it's in real time. So it's generating the query and showing the results at the same time, which is pretty cool. And especially when you're on a time crunch and you need to just like quickly revise and improve to be like, I have this data, what's happening inside of it, and you can ask it questions and interact with it to improve the quality, edit it, update it. So this is quite nice.
I agree. It makes it even easier than the easy it is.
Yes. Quick question: could we give it some documents and or binary data? So the synthetic data that it would create could be partially based off of that. So it has like a sample that it wouldn't generate it like just based on what it was trained out of, but it would generate synthetic data based off of a RAG. I think that's a question.
Since because right now, yes, I haven't done it, so I have to look up how to do it. It's not that we're not capable of doing it. It's more of I don't have it prepared.
Yes. Yeah. It's not an easy one. And I just thought I didn't even know if it's possible, because I'm thinking like, say, for example, people are trying to build an open source Sora model, for example, which they might not for the hackathon realistically, but if they did want to, if they have access to some 3D data that they wanted to like generate more synthetic data based on top of it, would that theoretically be possible to figure out somehow? Maybe like make a separate RAG via Capella, and then link it to another RAG to like generate those data. So it's like 2 chains, 2 or 3 chains kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of could do that from the way you've written your code, right? Which is you pull in the data. Once you store it, you would store it to Couchbase as depending on the size of the image, right? If we're talking less than a 20 megabyte image, you could just store the image itself. If you're talking larger than that image, you would store the image, say on S3, have a link to that data. The program would go and interpret the image into text. You store the text information into Couchbase, and then you would interpret the text into embed it with run that through the embedding capability function to then get the vector stored as associated with either A, the image, or B, the text document. And then
Gotcha.
use that as the source for the RAG application.
Gotcha. Yeah. So just like one chain input, output to the input of
Mhm.
another chain, and then just like
And-
interlink them. Perfect.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions from the audience? Because we don't want to keep too much. Sorry. Can you, Gavin? Can you right
API
click?
key page? You mean
Yes.
this? Or are you
this-
talking?
sorry, I was
Oh,
just
you're
looking
saying,
for
hey, can you
questions.
share the link? You're asking for. Oops, went too far, Gavin. You're asking for this piece of information? The problem, though, is my page on it is different than yours because I go to a different to a different endpoint, right? So if I go and copy that link address, it's going to a page that you may not be able to access. So I have to go and double check that. Could you connect, ask that detail? I'll go find the answer and get back to you. Or I'll post it actually, since this is out live, I'll post it into follow-ups so that everybody gets the information.
Perfect. Thank you, Mook.
Absolutely.
One more time. If there's no more questions, we could. Yes. Thank you, Gavin. If there's no more questions, we could wrap it up. Thank you so much, Mook, for taking the time to
Absolutely.
come over. This was quite helpful and fun, especially the synthetic part and learning how to link it up to Streamlit and create that basic chat with PDF, which is the standard of like all RAGs. And you can take that chat with PDF and make it chat with CSV or the multi-chain interactions that you can make to come up with a ton of Gen AI ideas. Maybe something else for inspiration for them to build during the hackathon and post on Capella. What are some Gen AI apps you think are missing right now in the whole startup ecosystem that could be addressed? It could be made in the hackathon. Say, for example, these are like 3 problems on top of your mind that you think if there was a Gen AI app, using like an AI chatbot, AI agent, that would be super great, and I would use it, or it will like benefit humanity as a whole. Like some project ideas to make.
So on the humanity scale, right? Because you see stuff coming out of the US that are generally motivated by, can I make profit off of it? Maybe I'm a little jaded. I don't know. It would be great to see some Gen AI ideas that actually serve society better. You know, helping people find stuff. There's an app out there called Be My Eyes, right? Or I think it's Be My Eyes. That is basically someone has help. They open something up, and somebody that happens to have their notifications on can pop in and solve something. I did this for someone a couple of weeks ago where hey, I can't see this. What is this? It would be great to use like OpenCV that then pulls that information in that can help someone, but in a specific setting, right? Because some of the information just can't get out and go. So you have private information that is embedded, that gives you the vector information. Now, this is idea. It may not work in reality, but you have that information so that when they do ask that question, you're taking some of the information and you're embedding what's seen using, or rather you're translating what's seen with OpenCV that then gets stored to something like Couchbase that then gets embedded as the associated vector information that's pushed out to a foundational model that then comes back with an answer that brings it back to the user, all from a mobile device. That would be neat.
Yes, it would. It would. That's another startup idea over there. We're gonna add that to the list that we want to share with them, if that's okay with you. So if someone comes up with it, they could generate it. Thank you so much again, Mook, for your time.
Absolutely. I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you
Yeah,
so very much.
this was nice because I feel like the people who stayed on the live stream were actually engaged, and they were like going through it step by step, which is, you don't get that too often. And as I said, it was a Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. In Vancouver, at least. I think it's like 5 or 6 p.m. in London
Yeah,
time.
it's like 5:30.
5:30. Yeah. So thank you so much for tuning in. Bahar, is there something else you wanted to share?
I just wanted to mention that you are such a great educator, instructor. It was very well. You mentioned everything in a great possible way. I wish I had this workshop. I've been through it a year ago, and it would be so helpful to me. And I learned a lot. Thank you so much. This is by far one of the best workshops we had for the hackathon. And yeah, really thankful for the time you spent.
Oh, absolutely. I enjoy it. I love showing people our stuff because I think it's cool. That's key to it. It's cool stuff. But
yeah, I just want to add that we're very excited to be part of the Be Loud Hackathon. This is a unique experience for us, and excited to see all the conversations. So, as Mook had mentioned, please in advance reach out to both Mook and I, and we're going to be present there as well. So come by. I think we're going to have a booth set up, and we'll have some open a conversation. Excited to hear about the project you're working on, and we'll have some swag as well. So stop by for all three or one of those three. We're happy to chat with you.
Yeah, don't just come over for the swag, but they did look nice. So you don't want to miss out on that. Yeah, thank you so much again, Matt, Mook, for your time. Super excited for it. We'll share a copy of this recording to the participants who weren't able to join as well. And do we want to share your LinkedIn or email with them if they wanted to reach out?
Hit up my LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my LinkedIn comes to my email, so I'll get it. So overall, you'll hit.
Yeah, I think it's
both
also
by doing
it's
one
easy
thing.
to converse through the chat as well. So I think LinkedIn is generally a great way to communicate both. Just from perhaps a more live conversation could come of it.
Absolutely. Sounds
Agreed.
good. Once again, thank you so much, Matt and Mook, and we could end the live stream right now. We'll see you in the kickoff on Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Address shared with the participants and the partners. And Saturday, Sunday, super excited for the demo day to have one or both of you sitting on the judging panel. We'll chat about that.
We'll chat about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See you this weekend.
Bye.